Hi everyone and welcome. I'm here with you today. It's Pam here with you today, and we are going to be doing a tutorial on doing this album here. It's just a little quick mini album, and but first I want to tell you kind of how or why I got inspired to doing this. I have a whole whack of these paper block pads. You probably get all excited when you go shopping for them as well, and they look so pretty and you just want to do something with it, and then you get home and you're thinking, what am I going to do with this giant pad of paper? So my goal is to show you many different ways to use up the paper so that you can kind of dwindle down your paper stash as well. So this album works really well if you have a bunch of papers that kind of coordinate pretty well. They don't have to be perfectly coordinated, not like they would be on the same page, but you do want them to have roughly the same families together, so family colors. All right, so let's get started. So we've got our 8.5 by 11 cardstock here in the purple. Now there is going to be two cuts that we're going to need to make that are at 11.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make an 11 by 16 page, and we're just going to tape it in the middle here. So I'm just grabbing my my seam tape, and I'm just going to tape this on here. And I like to do it on my scoreboard so that I can line it up nice and well. And also, as I'm placing my tape, because I'm using 1/4 inch here, I can double it up. So I'm going to just place that down, and then I'm going to take my bone folder, just really get it to stick well. And then some people have those little hooks, but I have this little palette that I like to just kind of lift the pages off onto. Now, if you're unsure of how to line this up, you can always just push your tape and angle it just like that. And then I'm going to kind of place this down at the 8 mark, and then make sure that it's nice and straight on the board here, this little ledge. And then you can just kind of pull just like that and then put it down. So whatever you feel more comfortable in doing, I'll probably do kind of a combination of the both as I go today. So the first one that we need is the right hand cover. And all these measurements are available. And I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Nigeza Creates, where I got this idea from, and we're going to modify her creation just a little bit. And so the first one that we need is 6 1/4 by 11.5. First I'm going to cut it at 11.5. So 11.5 and 6 1/4. Okay, so that's going to be our right hand cover. And then I have all these written down on just a paper. I'm just going to put that aside so I remember what cut is which, and I don't have to constantly be re-measuring. So the next cover is 8 inches by 6 1/4. So actually, let's do 6 1/4 this way. Just gives us a nicer piece as a scrap. And 8. And then we're going to go and score them all after they're all cut. So that is there. And then we need our first page, which will be 7.5 by 8 1/4. There we go. By 8 1/4. And we're going to need 2 of these. And put these with our little note. Plus 3/4, that's 7 inches. So 7 by 6 1/4. And then we've got 2 pages at 6.5 by 8 1/4. 6.5. By 8 1/4. And then we have a waterfall cascade that we're doing on this one, and I believe this is an add-on from Micheals, so that's just this right here. And we're going to be doing 4 cascades, and we want them to be able to mat a 6x4 photo roughly. So we're going to be doing ours at 6 and 4 3/4. So you're just going to go through your scraps, and this is a 4 1/2, and just kind of find the ones that are going to be the right size, which is 4 3/4. All right, so now that all of our pieces are cut, we're going to come in and do all the scoring. So I'm going to work from the beginning all the way to the end. And again, I'm going to pull them out of their pages. You can use sticky notes, but I do this album quite a lot, so I want to make sure that I have it to reuse over and over and over again. So our first cover, which is our 8 by 6 1/4 piece, we're going to score on the long side at 1 3/4. And put that aside. And then we're going to do our other cover, and we're going to score this one at 6 1/4 and 8 1/2. So I'm just going to kind of place this and see where those will be. So as you can see, sorry, at 8. So right at 8, I actually have this seam. So probably not a good idea to put a score line there. So let's just flip that around, and we're going to do 6 1/4 and 8. So that's going to make our back as well as this flip. Okay, so that's that. Now we are just using regular cardstock, the 65-pound weight. We're going to be doubling up on a lot of these to make it extra strong, so don't worry about the strength. And this one here, we're going to go on the long side. So score on the long side at 2 inches. This is going to make our pocket. And then you're going to score on the short edge at 1 1/4. Okay, so all these pages are going to be mirrored. So, you know, we can fiddle with that when we go to fold them and place them. So for right now, we're just going to keep on going. So this one here, we're going to score at 3/4 of an inch. That's this 7 by 6 1/4 that we cut out. And then these are our flaps, and we're just going to score them at half an inch. So these are going to end up being 6 by 4. Just a little smaller than I had thought, but I don't really want to be using up any more paper. So you just make do. Make the album with what you have. Fiddle around with it as you go. And then the last page here, these are page 3, and we're going to score at 2 inches. So another pocket page. And at 1/4 inch. This is going to actually be our very much on the inside page. So then we just have our waterfall cascades left, and we're just going to score all of those at 1/2 inch on the short side. So when you hear something that says on the short side, you always have the short side up and then at the 1/2 inch mark. So I'm going to keep doing these and then clear it out, and we'll start assembling. All right, so we're ready to start assembling. So I'm going to keep my scoreboard out because I do find it's nice and handy to line myself up. So I'm just going to place these guys. There we go. So this is how our album is going to end up being. So we're going to start by adhering this back piece to the front piece. Okay, so we're going to attach these two where we've scored it at 2 inches on each side. And we're just going to apply some glue, and you can use double-sided sticky tape if you would like, or liquid glue. I like to get the liquid glue right up close to the edges because we want this to kind of come out a little bit seamless. So yeah, we're going to do it like this here. Here, put this guy down first actually. Okay. And then kind of come in here. Now, as long as your papers are straight on the board, you should be able to just push it over. The glue does give you some wiggle room, so you're going to make sure that they are straight up and down. There, I think we're good. So then I take my bone folder and I just kind of apply a little bit of pressure evenly. Sometimes you'll get some glue that comes out. I just always have a like a Lysol or baby wipe next to me. And then on this side, then you know for sure that the glue has gone right to the edges. So we can kind of go like that. You do want to spend a little time on this guy just to make sure that it's all lined up properly. Yep, looks like all good. Okay. So then we are going to go ahead and glue this guy to the underside of this one. So I'm going to move this one out of the way and put on some liquid glue all the way around. Some people prefer Tombow, some people prefer Arlene's. I just, whatever I have, I use. The point of this is to use up what you have, not, you know, add more to what you already have. There we go. I had a hard time trying to figure out how to use up all my paper, and it's kind of frustrating when you are trying to use it up one scrapbook page at a time. So this really is a great way of using up a lot of your paper all at once, and it does make for a very easy scrapbook. Or you can just, you know, make it as a gift. Kind of making scrapbooks for other people is a little bit difficult. You don't know what their tastes are. So this is a great way to do it. You can just add the pages and they add all the pictures. There we go. All right, there we have it. So it's going to kind of look like a gatefold, but it actually is like a faux gatefold. So that's kind of neat. So I'm just going to set that aside for right now. And we're done with these two. So we're going to start with the outer page. Okay, and I'm going to fold it at the 2-inch score line. And fold it, I believe this is a 1-inch score line, 1 1/4 inch score line. Okay, so this one here is going to make our pocket. So it's going to come in like that, and then this is going to be our hinge. Okay, so I'm just going to give this a quick trim. Otherwise, we're going to be way too bulky. And you're going to want to do it just on the inside of the score line. So this would be the inside, and you're just going to cut it just barely to the inside. There. Perfect. And then this one is going to make the pocket. So you're just going to put a very small amount of glue on the very edge of the pocket. There. Now this one I got a little more carried away, so I'm just going to use my bone folder and scrape it all off. All right, so we're going to place this down and hold it for a minute to let the glue set, and then we're going to do the same thing on this side. So the next thing that we do to finish this page off is we're actually going to glue the hinges together. So this hinge system is really quite simple, especially if you've never done a book before. It makes it really easy to kind of do your first time book. So I'm just going to glue. I'm just going to eyeball this part. And then I'm double checking it here on the edge. Here. And then bone folder. There we go. If some glue comes off, you just wipe it down before it dries. No big deal. Crafting is not supposed to be clean, right? All right, so we're going to just set that one aside. We're going to assemble all the pages here, and then we're going to put them all in the book. Okay, so this is the second page, or the kind of, because it's not middle, mid-middle, not 100% middle. Okay, so we're just going to assemble these pages together, just like we did on the other one, and we'll add the flaps after. Alright, that's lined up, and that's lined up, and our edges are straight, so we're going to, there we go ahead and press it down. I had some tacky glue at one point that was really quick to set, and it was not very fun to try and set these types. Okay, so then we're going to add the flaps onto these guys. So we're going to fold crisply and fold crisply again. And now this one here, it doesn't really matter if you can see the edge. We're going to be covering that up with paper anyway. So this one here, though, I'm going to use some of the seam tape. So I'm going to attach that to both of these guys. And then with this one here, we're just going to pull off a little bit and a little bit. All right, and we're going to line these up. So we're going to do it this way. So then if you line this guy up, make sure the bottom and top are all lined up well before you press down on this corner, and then you just remove and it's already lined up for you, okay? There we go. And we're just gonna grab the bone folder, press it down. Okay, so that's our third page. We're putting it aside. And we come to the middle page, the final page. So we're going to fold this guy. Another pouch page, which is great for adding photo mats with it, which is also wonderful for getting rid of some paper. So this one here, you're going to want to fold it pretty as well as you can. It's just a small little 1/4 inch. So we are doing these to have a 1/4 inch kind of gusset between each of the pages. So that gives you room for embellishments. And if you wanted to make them closer together, you may be able to, but you wouldn't be able to put much more than just your photo mat and a photo. So it really does limit yourself as to what you can add on. So, all right, gluing the sides, gluing the sides. And I get glue everywhere, don't worry about it if you're in the same boat. And then we're going to assemble these two together. If you want to use the glue, you can, but I'm actually going to use my tape on this one. Because it's just going to be a little easier and nicer for me. To line up. I'm just going to bring that up a little bit higher. Okay. I'm going to flip them around actually because the pockets might not be 100% even. So we're going to line that up and make sure that the tape is fully going to be covered as best as we can here. This middle guy is probably the most difficult, which doesn't matter what kind of tape you're using. There. So there we have it, our very middle piece, and then our second piece, and our first pieces. Now we get to assemble the whole thing together. So this time here, we're going to just do them from the outside in. And you can tell that the glue hasn't fully dried, and that's okay. It is pretty much tacky enough. So then you're going to want to try, here's your score lines originally, and you're going to want to try and get right in the center of those. So I like to line the top up. Okay, and then I just flip it over once it's lined up and give it a little glue. And the glue does make your books, if you are doing a few scrapbooks, it does make them a little bit stronger, gives them a little bit more to kind of cling to. There we go. So then once it's set, you want to take your bone folder like this on one side and on the other, just to make sure that the glue has distributed all the way. And then we're just going to keep assembling the rest of our book. And there you have it. The shell is all done. All right, so before we go into decorating, I'm just going to quickly show you how to put the waterfall together. So I've got some score tape on all of my flaps that we scored earlier. And I'm just going to kind of use this edge as a guide and make sure that my flap is straight. And we're just doing that partial tear again. on all of these. I'm just going to go ahead and actually partially bend them all just to make the video go a little quicker. All right, so you kind of line it up. I line the edge up, and then I also make sure that the edges are lined up, and yank and continue on. Now comes the fun part, decorating. So this is my favorite part because this is why we're doing the album, right? It's because we have all these pattern paper that we absolutely love and we can never find ways to use them. So this, I'm not 100% how many pages you're gonna go through, but I have cut up a whole bunch of my 12 by 12s into 6 by 6 squares. So if you have a 6 by 6 paper pack, this album is beautiful for that because all the pages are 6 by 6, and then you can just cut them down for the flaps and the pockets, which is wonderful. So I am going to kind of go through and lay out where I want all the papers to be. Now, when I do a cascade, I actually like to showcase all, like one of each of the papers. So I'm just going to kind of take my paper pack and just slide kind of one of each into there. So we've got all the papers all covered now. We've got them all adhered. One thing I want to point out is that when you are doing paper that's really thin, like this paper here, you don't really want to use your liquid glue because it does wrinkle the paper. So if you noticed, I did use my little tape runner. You could use like the tape that you just pull off, whatever you'd like to do. But for right now, we're at the point where we need to do the cover and the side. So I'm going to just show you, we're going to hold this together with a magnet. And in this case, I'm going to be putting two. I just find that one magnet is just not quite, doesn't quite keep it aligned properly. So we're going to actually put one and one. So I'm going to start by putting them over here, and you want to get them fairly, like not too far in the center, but you don't want them too close to the edge or too far into the center. So kind of about a third of the way roughly. So I'm going to put two magnets there and two magnets here. I'm going to slide them off. And then the next part isn't necessarily tricky, but you do kind of need some tape for it. So you're going to place your adhesive down, and then, if I can grip it, you're going to just let it fall on. And we're going to do the same thing with the other magnet. Just kind of where our paper will probably end. And these magnets you can get at Amazon. They're pretty inexpensive. So then when you go to line this up, you're going to want to kind of have it open a little bit. So one trick that I've done before is you can just put like a case for your stamps, or this is my stamp cleaner. So I'm just gonna kind of bring it up a little bit, or you can just stand it up. I think we're gonna do that today, just so we can see when this edge kind of comes in and lines up, and then you're just gonna kind of make sure it's lined up and press it down. So that side's pressed down. I don't know about this side. We don't want it uneven. Otherwise our edges won't match up when it's closed. There we go. All right, so we pull it off. Oop. Let's See, this one's not quite stuck all the way. There we go. And then you pull them off and you've got your magnets stuck just where you need them. And these guys, and then it kind of holds holds itself back up. Now I'm going to double up on this side here, which is the hinge that opens it up, and also on the cover, just to give it a little bit more strength. And then I'm going to add the decorative paper. So on the inside, I'm going to use one of my scraps and cut a size exactly that way. And we're going to just put a paper over top of here, an extra cardboard here, and should kind of strengthen it up a little bit so that it doesn't collapse down. So I've got all the pieces cut out for what we need for doing the cover. So I figured this was going to be the little flap that you yank on, and it's just part of the collection. It says "Live the Life You Love," and I'm just going to mat it on this cream cardstock just to kind of make it pop a little bit. So while that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and decorate the remainder of the album nice and straight. So I like that this whole album from this direction is kind of all matching, and I'm going to do something similar to the back side and to the other spine. So I've got this here, some cardstock. So I'm just going to show you how I quickly did the edges. So I just take my whole stamp pad and I just kind of rub it along. It doesn't have to be perfect. You're just kind of taking that starkness, even if it is not a white core cardstock, you just want to kind of give it that little bit of dimension. And your plain regular stamp pad's just fine. And that's an old Stampin' Up color. Just use a nice dark color or similar to the cardstock or the paper that you're using for this project. So we're just going to go ahead and tape this, and then I'm just going to mount this square, and I'm just eyeballing it. You still want it to have a handmade kind of feel. And then with this back, I'm just going to use some liquid tacky glue, just because I want this to really adhere to the back. And sometimes those tape runners, if the corners get caught just the right way and it's not glued right to the edge, it will start coming apart. Whereas with the liquid glue, I find it is much more permanent. There. And then of course we're going to do the edge. Now, because this one has a bunch of words on it and it's kind of a collage-y kind of look, I decided to just kind of go ahead, there we go, and continue it. So I just kind of spliced the paper down to the size that I needed for the spine. So it's going to seem like it continues on, just like that. So there's the back side and the other spine, and then the front side and the other in this spine. All right, so then now I'm going to put on this guy. There. Oh, and we have some spillage, which no problem. Just grab our little wipe. So why not, right? All right, so that's there. We will bulk this up a little bit so that it doesn't keep collapsing on us. All right, so we're at that final stage. I did leave you to, I was making this guy here. So I just ended up layering it with some circles, and then I do have a flower punch from Stampin' Up that I used in a few different colors, just to kind of bring and draw in, you know, all the similar colors. I only glued it on the edges so that you could still kind of tuck a photo into there and you kind of have a little photo catcher. And then in the front, I just did some circles and layered flowers with some, and distress the edges a little bit. So next I was going to move on to the other pages. So here we've got like the blank page, and I wasn't sure how I was going to do it, if I wanted to kind of have that as a little tuck kind of holder. I think this is what I'd like to do. And then we've got these pockets as well that I was going to embellish and show you guys. And then on this one as well, I think I'd like to put this guy kind of off-centered, not really sure, or maybe down over here, and have it as another tuck corner as well. And I did have some little rhinestones and you know, some pearls in my stash that I thought would work really well. So I might just kind of zhuzh up this here with just like some jewels, and maybe both sides. We'll see. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and glue these all down, and yeah, and then we'll kind of move on. So all the embellishments are now done, and I just wanted to walk you through it. So as you can see, once the embellishments are in, it actually does kind of lay a little more square. So we're just going to walk through it. Again, we have the you cut out from the paper pack, and then magnetically in place with a little kind of frilled up flower there. I didn't decorate any of the waterfalls because this should just be a nice area to just place some pictures, just like a photo mat. And then I added the handmade embellishment. We made this, well, I made this from the paper stash that we were using. And then the Enjoy is our little flipper to open up to that side. And then I just jeweled these. Now I didn't put them all across like that because when they do come together, I didn't want them to be hitting each other too badly. So then we move on, and I just kind of added a little bit of pearls there. And then the Making Memories pull tab as well is right there. And then I had these in my stash. These are just some irregular shaped jewels, and they coordinate with these other ones over here. And that is all that we have right now. So you can go ahead and make some more photo mats to, you know, tuck into these pockets with whatever leftover scraps that you have. And I think I will go ahead and do that just to kind of fill the album up a little bit and to use a little bit more up of the paper. And so I'll probably mat them with a dark purple, and then the card or the paper over top of the dark purple, just because the paper isn't thick enough to stand on its own. So sometimes when you get those paperbacks, they're cardstock. This is not. These are paper, which is perfect for making these kinds of embellishments, but it just makes it a little bit trickier when you're wanting to go ahead and use them for photo mats. So I hope you guys enjoyed this quick little album from start to finish with the embellishments. I would say that it took me probably about 2 hours to complete it, so not long at all. Would make a wonderful gift. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, you just go ahead and let me know. So I hope you enjoyed our Live the Life album, a cute little 6x6 mini, and you can go and, you know, check out different styles that I've done, and different ways of decorating, but definitely gives you some options here. Yeah, it was nice to have you on our channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll talk to you soon.